Okay, so now my YouTube is back on. I don't know why it turned off. That's weird. Okay. Okay, so Andy says just recite. Why? Why just recite? Why are you so uncreative in the way that you study? Memorizing is the most boring way that you can learn. If I had a prison with prisoners in it, one of the ways that I would punish the prisoners is by making them memorize words. I would make them read a dictionary, and I would make them memorize words. Yeah, okay, you're saying it is visible on YouTube. Well, then how did I just start another YouTube stream then? Somehow, I guess I started a second stream. I don't know. I'll have to figure that out later. Yeah, all right. Well, it should be going. All right, so listen, everybody. If you want to learn vocabulary, okay, I'm going to tell you the 4 best ways to learn vocabulary, all right? One is read, 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 and read some more, and then read again, and read, and read, and read, and read. Every teacher in the world, any language, it does not matter what language it is, if you ask that teacher, which student has the best vocabulary in my class? Every teacher will tell you, oh, it's Joey over there. It's Jane over there. She reads. Every teacher in the world will tell you that every student with a good vocabulary, they read. They read. It's not a hard thing to say. The people who read have the best vocabulary. The people who read have the best vocabulary. The people who read have the best vocabulary. Yes, that's right, Marius. Read, 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 read. Okay? Read. That's number 1. Number 2, if you want to learn vocabulary, you can start with vocabulary words that you know and find words that you didn't know. For example, do you know the word happy? Do you know the word happy? Okay, so you know the word happy, right? So what about these words? Do you know this word? What about these? Do you know these? Cheerful, delighted, ecstatic, elated, enraptured, exultant, glad, gleeful, jolly, joyful, joyous, jubilant, merry, mirthful, overjoyed, thrilled, upbeat, blessed, blissful, blithe, content, contented, convivial, gratified, peaceful, pleasant, pleased, satisfied, sparkling, sunny, tickled, blessed, can't complain, chipper, chirpy, flying high, all of these. These are all related to the word happy. Now, do they mean the same thing as happy? Are those all exactly the same thing as happy? No, they're not all exactly the same. These are like the family of words. These are the family of words, right? So some of them are mothers and fathers, some of them are sisters and brothers, some of them are cousins or aunts or uncles. Okay, so they're not all directly related, but some of them are very, very close, right? Glad and happy. Pretty close, right? I'm glad that I finished my test. I'm happy that I finished my test. Those are the same, right? But the word jubilant jubilant is not exactly the same thing, right? But it's related. So guess what? You can go here. The second best way for you to learn vocabulary is for you to go to thesaurus.com. That's the website that I just had on my screen. Thesaurus.com. You can type in any word that you already know and then find the words that you don't know. Right? So you can start with the vocabulary that you already know and then build on that. Okay, so there's the second way to learn vocabulary. The third way to learn vocabulary is like this. Let's see. This one, I think, is the one I want. Let's try this. Yeah, here we go. Look at this, everybody. This is a website called LangGeek, Language Geek, English Vocabulary. Okay, if you go to this website here, this website, I just put it in the chat here. Look down here. Oh, A1 vocabulary, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. Now let's click on B1 vocabulary. Can you see the screen? Can you see the screen, everybody? Or is it black? Yes? Okay, good. Now look, B1 vocabulary, intermediate. Family and relationships words, the animal kingdom, houses and buildings, business and workplace, occupations. So let's go click on family and relationships. Okay, let's see. Let's click here. Can you see it, everybody? Can you see it? So here's the first word. Relation.
Relation.
And you can see what it is, right? So these are words by topic, 32 words. They have 32 words that are related by topic. Relation, let's see, what's the next one here? Relationship, friendship, motherhood, fatherhood, relative, marriage. Okay, so if you learn by topic, choose a topic like sports. Now learn all the words about sports. Choose a topic like business. Now learn all the words about business. Okay? So the first best way to learn vocabulary is to read. Read. The second best way to learn vocabulary is to build on your knowledge, to build on what you know. Use a thesaurus. Use a thesaurus, thesaurus.com. That's the website I gave you. That website, you can explore vocabulary by using the words you know to find words that you didn't know. Okay? The third way is by topic. By topic. Learn words by topic. Just choose any topic that you're interested in, and then type in that word and vocabulary list. Vocabulary list. Sports, vocabulary list. Jobs, vocabulary list. Family, vocabulary list. Okay? And then the fourth way to learn vocabulary, this is actually my favorite way. It's not for beginners, though. The fourth way is only if you're intermediate and advanced. It's called etymology. Oops, sorry, I spelled it wrong. Etymology. Etymology means the history of words. Where do the words come from and how have they changed over time? And there's a great website for that too. It's called etymonline.com. This is a free website that's a etymology dictionary. So let's do this. Let's type in, let's see. Let me think. What's a good one? The word car. We're going to look up the word car. Where does the word car come from? Why do we say the word car? Who gave us that word? Let's look and see. It says here the word car comes from the year 1300. 1300. Interesting. So, look at this. It says it was French, and then before it was French, it was Latin. Latin is the language of the Roman Empire. The Romans. So, if you were Roman and you had a car, that's called a carum, and it looked like this. This is the Roman carum or carus. So you drive a car, and they drove a carum. Let's try again. Looks like somebody said it was frozen. Here. This is a Roman carum. So that's where we get the word car. The word car comes from this. Now that's, when you see that and you say, oh wow, that's cool. I can remember that because look, I know that thing. I've seen that thing before. I've seen that thing. It's called a carum. I have a car. Ah, that's a connection I can remember. Okay, like a cart. That's where we get the word cart from also. Okay, words are related sometimes, right? So, for example, you can also do this. I want to show you this other neat trick about English. How many words in English use the letters R-E in the beginning? How many letters, or how many words use the word re in the beginning? Let's take a look and see. Entries related to re. 569 words. 569. So let's look at some of them. Rebuild, rebel, receive, recommend, recover, recovery, recreate, refill, regard, refer, redundant, reduce, redolent, right? These are all re words. Okay? Oh, I'm sorry if it was black. So I was trying to show you that there are 569 words in English that have the letters R-E. What does R-E mean? If you see R-E, what does that usually mean? Yeah, it means again or it means back. Okay, back to the original place or again, right? So when I say redo it, I want you to do it again. When I say review it, I want you to view it again. This is a very useful trick in English. You can learn what the part of the word means and then learn all the words that have that part. Okay? Like, what about co? What does co mean? If you see a word that has co in it, what does that mean? Yeah, co means together. So, cooperate means operate together, work together. Co-worker means a worker that you work with together. Co-pilot, that's the pilot and then the person who helps the pilot. with the pilot, right? So there are many co-words that mean something together, okay? Co usually means something together, yeah, or with, okay? Yeah, these are called affixes and suffixes and prefixes, okay? So there are 4 ways to learn vocabulary. 1, read, 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 read. 2, learn how to use a thesaurus, thesaurus.com. 3, learn words by topic, by topic, by topic, by topic. Pick a topic, find a list of words about that topic. And 4, etymology means the history of words. So I'm going to show you a trick. I'm going to show you a trick about the history of words and why it's so useful. Okay? Listen to me. Do you know the word, do you know the idiom, let the cat out of the bag? Let the cat out of the bag. Do you know that idiom? Have you ever heard that idiom before? So to let the cat out of the bag is an idiom that means something was revealed. Some secret is now known. Okay? And there's another idiom. There's another idiom that's related. This idiom is to buy a pig in a poke. To buy a pig in a poke. So a pig in a poke. Do you know what a pig in a poke is? A pig in a poke. Don't ruin it. If you already have heard my story, don't ruin it for everybody else. So, a pig in a poke. We know what a pig is, right? So what's a poke, everybody? What does the word poke mean? The word poke, today the word poke means like this. I poke somebody with my finger, right? Yeah, that's what the word means today. But a long time ago, the word poke was very different. The word poke meant a bag. It was a bag, okay? So a pig in a poke means a pig in a bag, right? But that can't be a big pig, right? Pigs can be really big, right? So that means you're not buying a full-size pig, you're buying a baby pig. It's a baby pig in a bag, all right? Yeah, so here's the story, okay? 500 years ago, you live in Europe, okay? 500 years ago, you live in Europe, and you decide that you're going to go to the market today to buy a pig to have for dinner. Okay? So you go to the market, but you're in a late, you're late. You're in a rush. You're in a rush. You are late. So you go really quickly to the market and you see the guy who's selling pigs. And so you give him money and he gives you a bag. Right? And you're in a rush. So you don't look in the bag. You just assume, oh, that's a pig. Right? So you give him the money, you take the pig, and you run home. And then you get home and you open the bag, and now what happens? You see what? What's in the bag? Is it a pig? What's in the bag, everybody? A cat. He tricked you. He put a cat in the bag. And now you open the bag and the cat is out of the bag. It means the secret is known. So these two idioms are related. If you go to the market and you buy something, but you did not look at it, you didn't pay attention, you didn't look to see, is this thing the real thing? Is it really what I want to buy or not? You just bought it. You didn't look. That's called a pig in a poke. Then you get home and you open the bag and you see, oh no, he tricked me. It's not a pig. He sold me a cat. And now the cat is out of the bag. And I'm going to go further. We talked about the word poke. A poke means a bag, right? Well, in English, sometimes there are words in English that end with the letters E-T-T-E. What does that mean? If you see a word and the end of that word has the letters E-T-T-E on it, what does that mean? Do you know? The letters E-T-T-E means something smaller or something feminine. Something smaller or feminine. Okay, so for example, if I smoke that, what's the big fat thing called that you smoke that's big, fat, and brown, right? They're like this round and they're big and fat and brown and you smoke them. What's that called? What's that thing called? Not a cigarette. No, that's the white one. What's the big fat brown one called? That's a cigar. So the big fat brown one is called a cigar, but the small one is called a cigarette. Okay, and a cigarette has the E-T-T-E on the end because it means something smaller, right? So we were talking about the word poke. A poke is a big bag. It's a big bag, right? But they also had another word for a small bag. And a small bag was called a poquette. A poquette. All right? Now, a long time ago, guess what, guys? A long time ago, most clothes did not have these. Most clothes didn't have these a long time ago. 500 years ago, people didn't usually have pockets. What did they have? They had these. It's a bag. It's a bag, right? So they would put their money in a bag and they would tie the bag onto their clothes, right? So they had their bag here, right? But one day somebody said, wouldn't it be nice if we just took this little bag and we put it right here? What if we put this bag right here on my clothes? So this little bag is called a poquette. And what's this called again? What's this called? What do we call this thing? A pocket. That's right. So the word poke, a long time ago, the word poke meant a big bag, and the word poquette was a small bag. And then they put the poquette on your clothes, and the word poquette became pocket. That's etymology. So now, in that one story, in that one little story, I taught you 2 idioms and 2 new words. You know cigar and cigarette, right? You know poke and poquette and pocket. And you know let the cat out of the bag and pig in a poke. And you can remember it because it's interesting. So it's easy to remember. Understand? So that's why I tell people that memorizing is the worst way to learn, because memorizing is so boring. It's easy to forget. But if it's interesting, it's easy to remember. Okay, so make your learning interesting and it will be easy to remember. If you make your learning boring, it will be easy to forget. All right? Okay, did I miss any comments? Let me make sure. Let's see. Okay, Sophia was asking about how to improve your spelling skills. Etymology will help you with spelling also, because English words come from many different languages. Do you know that? Do you understand that English is a mix of many languages? And that's why many words are spelled in different ways, right? So the word kindergarten comes from German, but the word shampoo comes from Hindi, and the word algebra comes from Arabic, and the word though comes from Old English, and the word restaurant and ennui, those are French. Okay? And the word disaster is Latin and Greek. Okay? Pajamas, Tamor. Pajamas, actually, from what I know, pajamas is not from Persian. Pajamas is from Indian. But let me, Hindi, let me check. I could be wrong, that it might go further back than that. Pajamas. Worn by Muslims in India, adopted by Europeans there. Oh, you're right. From Hindi pajama, probably from Persian pajama, literally leg clothing. So the word pay means leg and jama means clothing. Okay, so there you go. See? Look, that's interesting. It's from that word, pajamas. It has a connection to India and Persia. Tamor, what about the game of chess? The game of chess. Do you guys know the game of chess? The game of chess was originally created in the 6th century, around the 6th century in India. Okay, so the game of chess was created in India. It was called Chaturanga. Chaturanga was the original name. But then it became very popular in India around that time. And it became so popular that it traveled and it ended up in Persia. Okay, and in Persia, they started playing the game, but they changed it, right? So originally, the game, they had dice and they had more than 2 players, right? So you could use more than 2 people and you had to use dice to play the game. But in Persia, they changed the game to only 2 players and no dice. And that game became the game that we know as chess. The word chess comes from the word Czech. Czech comes from the word Schachmat. Schachmat means the king is dead, or the king is surprised. The king is astonished. Checkmate. Checkmate is from Persian. So the game of chess is also interesting. It comes from history, everybody. Sometimes the stories in history are really interesting. Okay? Yeah, Hao Zhou Bu Jian, long time no see. That's Chinese. We also sometimes in America will say, "Can I have a look-see? Can I have a look-see at this thing?" That's not proper English. That's Chinese. 我要看看. I want to look. Yeah. Okay? Yeah, 我要看看. That's right. Yeah, so in English, sometimes we'll say, "Let me have a look-see. Let me have a look-see." Yeah, okay. What about the word tea? Tea. What about the word tea? The word tea is now spelled T-E-A, and it's pronounced tea. But before it was tea, it was pronounced tay. It was spelled T-A-E, not T-E-A. And then before it was tay, it was pronounced che. And before it was che, it was pronounced chai. And before it was chai, it was pronounced cha. So the word tea comes from Chinese. In Chinese, the word is cha. And then it became Indian, chai. And then it became che. And then che became tay, and tay became tea. That's history. And everybody, if you're from this part of the world, so maybe, for example, if you're from Kazakhstan or you're from Russia, then probably you use the word chai. And the reason why is because in Russian history, you had more connection to those people. So that's why you chose that word. Right? But then there will be some other people who chose a different word because they had a connection to a different people. Yeah. There you go. In Persian, it's still pronounced che. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that interesting? All right? Yeah. Words are what connect us, everybody. Every word has a history. Every word has a history. Not every history is really interesting, but some of them are. Some of them are very interesting. That's right, the Silk Road. That's what I'm talking about. So the British called it tea and tay and che because of the way that they moved from boats mostly, right? But then the other people used the Silk Road, so that's why they used that word, right? Or, for example, in English, we have two words. We have the word cow, but we also have the word beef. And we have the word pork, but we also have the word pig. Why do we have beef and pork and pig and cow? Why? Why two different words for the same thing? Anyone? So this is because the French and the English hated each other for hundreds of years. The French hated the English, and the English hated the French. All right? And sometimes they would fight, and when they would fight and the British would win, right? If the British wins, then the English becomes the big language, right? But if the French won, then French becomes the big language, right? So in 1066 was William the Conqueror. William the Conqueror came to England, and he conquered England. He was the Norman king. The Normans were French, okay? And they conquered England. And when they conquered England, now French becomes the language of England. But now they have two languages. So you have the rich people. The rich people use French, and the poor people use English. So do the rich people ever do any farming? Do the rich people do any farming? No. So the rich people don't talk about cows and pigs, right? And the poor people, do the poor people eat meat a lot? Do they get to eat a lot of meat? The poor people? No. So poor people would say cow and pig because it's their job to take care of the cow and pig. And rich people would say beef and pork because that's what they ate. Understand? So we have the rich people who would talk about the things that they ate, and we had the poor people who talked about the animals that they took care of. So language is history. Every word has a past. Every word has a past. Again, I've been studying this since I was a boy. I think I was about 15 when I started studying this. There are so many interesting stories. There are just so many. Okay? It's really fun. For me, it's fun. I love etymology. Okay? All right. That's the same rebellion behind the story of tea and coffee, right? Yeah, why do Americans drink coffee and not tea? That's because we had a fight with the British, right? We had a war, and we broke away from them. And because we broke away from them, we wanted to separate our cultures. So we separated our cultures in some of the most basic ways, like tea. Tea is very important to British culture, which is really funny because it came from India and China. But tea was part of British culture, so we said, oh, we don't want that. Now we drink coffee. Yeah, that's right. When you learn English, should you focus on one accent? Yeah, in my opinion, you should choose one. I don't care which one, British or American, choose. Just choose one. It's better to just use one. Okay? I don't think anybody should be expected to be able to speak with a perfect American accent and a perfect British accent. No, just pick one. All right? And really, you don't need to have a perfect American or British accent. You don't need to have a perfect accent. Nobody cares about your accent. We only care if we can't understand you. Do you guys get that? Do you understand? Nobody cares about your accent. They only care if when you speak, it's so bad that we can't understand you. If that's the way you sound, that's a problem. But if you just have an accent, nobody cares. So you can speak English perfectly well with a Chinese accent, a Japanese accent, a French accent, a German accent, a Portuguese accent. I don't care what accent you have. I only care if it's clear. All right? Why did Americans take coffee instead of tea, but British love tea? History. Again, tea was a major reason why the British Empire became rich, because the British took over India and they took over tea production, right? So they were bringing all of this tea from India back to England. Black tea, they called it, which is really funny because Americans, we call it black tea. The British, they call it black tea, right? But in Chinese, the word is Hong Cha, and Hong means red. So the Chinese call it red tea, and the Europeans and Americans call it black tea. And the reason why is because Chinese are calling it the color that when you make the tea, it's that color. The water becomes that color. It's red. But the leaves, when they're dry, the leaves are black. So we call it black tea because of the color of the leaves, and Chinese call it red tea because of the color of the tea. There's also green tea and white tea and oolong tea. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, why did we take coffee instead of tea? Because tea was the major export of the British at the time. And because coffee at the time was new and it was from the New World. So it became more popular because it was closer in America. Coffee was closer, and because it was different. It was not the same thing that the British did. Can we please learn the second angle meaning of ETT that refers to feminine? Sure, Samira, that's from French grammar. In French grammar, ETTE means something feminine or something smaller, because feminine things are usually smaller, right? So, for example, let me see. Like, oh, I know. How about this word? What is that? Case. What's a case? What is a case? It's a box. That's right. So then what is this? Did I spell it right? Yes. ETTE. What's that then? Cassette. What's a cassette? This thing is a cassette. Do you remember these? You remember these? It's called a tape cassette. Yeah. And what's this look like? This looks like a little box. It's a little box. Case, cassette. Okay, there's one right there. Or how about, I'm looking for ones that are popular. Sometimes we have a dining table, and sometimes we have a dinette. A dinette is a smaller dining table or smaller dining room. Brunette. Yeah, brunette is the word brown. And it's the diminutive form of the word brown, ETTE, meaning smaller. And mostly just because it was a word that we usually use to talk about women, right? So men, we would just say he has brown hair, right? It's brown hair. But a woman, we would say she's a brunette. That's the feminine word for it. Okay? Cigar and cigarette. We talked about that one earlier. Yeah. One moment. Do you know what a bachelor is? A bachelor is a single man. And then we also have the word bachelorette. Yeah, bachelor and bachelorette. So if you're getting married in America, before you get married, maybe you have a bachelor party and a bachelorette party. The bachelor party is just the guys, right? So the groom, the man who's getting married, and all of his friends, the men, they'll have a party. That's the bachelor party. Then the women will all get together and they'll have a party too. That's the bachelorette party. Okay? Or, what do you call that thing? Oh, I know. What do you call this? What's this? A CD. What does CD mean? CD means what? Compact disc. Yeah. Now, do you remember a long time ago the computers used to use those things too? Do you know what we called those? What was the thing that you used to stick into the computer? A diskette. It's called a diskette. It was a disk that's smaller. Okay, so disk and diskette. CD means compact disc. DVD means digital optical disc. Digital optical disc. Or digital video disc. Digital video disc. Yeah, it was originally optical disc, but it was digital video disc. Yeah, so that's a diskette. Let's see, what else is there? Oh, when you do barbecue, what do you call those little tiny things that you burn? It's not wood, it's the little black things. What are those little black things that you burn? What do you call those? We call those charcoal briquettes. So a brick, B-R-I-C-K, that's the thing that you build a house with. You build the house with bricks. But if they're smaller, they're called briquettes. Briquettes. Or let me see if there's anything else. Sometimes maybe you have an apartment, but it's a very small apartment, right? So I had an apartment once that was very, very small, and it had a very small kitchen, only one burner and a small sink, right? And that's called a kitchenette. That's called a kitchenette. This apartment has a kitchenette. It doesn't have a kitchen, it has a kitchenette. It's too small to call it a kitchen. Okay? Let me see. Oh, I know. Here's another really good one. Here's another good one. What is this? What is that? Etiquette. Anybody know what that is? Etiquette means polite social behavior. So the word etiquette is very interesting. This word goes back to the early days of the French king, the French kings, the French court. Okay, the court means everybody around the king. And if you want to be around the king, there are rules. There are rules if you want to be around the king, right? Can you talk whenever you want to when you're around the king? No. Can you call the king whatever you want? Can you say, hey, Jack, how you doing, Jack? No, you can't call the king Jack, right? And can you pick your nose when you're around the king? No, you cannot pick your nose when you're around the king. So there were many, many, many rules. Many rules. Too many rules. You can't remember all of them, right? So they used to write the rules down. They would write the rules down on a piece of paper, and you would put it in your pocket. And now you have the rules so that you can look at the rules. So the word etiquette comes from the French word that means a small piece of paper. And that's where we get the word ticket. Ticket. Because what is a ticket? A ticket is a small piece of paper. So, etiquette. Etiquette was the rules of behavior, and you would keep them on a piece of paper in your pocket. That's where we get the word etiquette from. And the word etiquette is related to the word ticket, like movie ticket, because a movie ticket is also a little piece of paper. Beau, you should know that because you have a French name. Beau is a French name. And how are you, Beau? Good to see you. So, guys, all of this is etymology. And etymology just means the history of the words. And sometimes that history is really interesting. I can go on and on and on and on and on. I know words from French and from German and from Persian and from Arabic and from Hindi and from Italian and from Chinese and Japanese and Spanish. English words that come from those languages. Okay, the word cafe comes from French, but the word cafeteria comes from Spanish. Okay? So, for the last hour, I've been talking about ways to learn vocabulary. Better ways. Better ways to learn vocabulary. Okay? Are there no other words? What do you mean? I can keep going. You just have to ask me a word. I have no idea how many words that I know up in this head. I don't have any idea how many I know. So you just have to ask me a word and then I'll tell you if I know the meaning, if I know the history of that word. I know the history of a lot of words. So you have to ask me and then I'll tell you. Okay? How many countries, what do you mean, Sue? How many countries English took their words of their own? Do you mean how many words come from English originally? There are many, right? But again, why do so many words come from so many languages? History, right? So the word, well, let's just say, you guys know where England is, right? You guys know where England is, right? So England started with a couple of tribes. There were groups, a couple of groups of people. The Angles, and then there were some local people there, Celtic people, other tribes. So there was the Celtic and the Angles peoples. They were in England. And then across the English Channel, over in Europe, right across the way, there were some other groups. The Jutes, the Saxons, and the... oh, I can't remember the third one. Anyway, 3 groups of people that they came over the English Channel into England, and they mixed with the group of people that were there, the Celtics, the Celts, and the Angles, right? So Anglo-Saxons, those were the first. That was one of the first groups of English people, right? So that's where those words are from, but they had a lot of, well, the English people, right? The Angles, that's English, but the Saxons, that's Germanic. That's Germanic. So that's why English is called a Germanic language, because 2 or 3 of the groups that started the language, they're Germanic. Okay, so then the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire was the most powerful empire at that time. So the Roman Empire used Latin. That was their language, was the Latin language. And they also used a lot of Greek. So Latin and Greek became very important in English because of the Romans. And then later, the French and the English would fight back and forth. The French and the English would fight. So that's why we have so many words from French. And we also had a lot of fighting and trading with the people in the north of Europe. They were called the Norse people, the Norse peoples. And so the Vikings, right? And so that's why many English words come from the Norse peoples, right? So all of this is about history. Why do we have so many words from so many languages? Because of history. Okay? Why can't you start your own language like they did? You can. People have. There are people who have made new languages. Yeah. You can create a language. It's just very hard. Okay, let's see. What's the difference between figure out and make clear? Figure out is more like to solve a problem. To make clear means someone doesn't understand and you're trying to make them understand. Right? So figure it out is more like, hey, figure it out, solve that problem. Okay? Make it clear is more like, I don't understand. Can you be more clear, please? Can you tell me more so that I do understand? Okay? Pulchritudinous. Pulchritude is a great word. You know what? That's one I never looked up the etymology for. Let's look at that. I'm sure it's got to be Latin. Pulchritudinous, it means beautiful, right? To be pulchritudinous is to be beautiful. Pulchritude is beauty. And that comes from the Latin word pulchritudo, which just means beauty. Pulcher means beautiful. Yeah, pulchritudinous just is a really fancy word that means beautiful. The word okay. Okay is very interesting. We say okay all the time, right? But the word okay actually has... it's a joke. The word okay is a joke, everybody. So around the 1900s in America, there were many people in the newspapers. They would write things in a funny way. They liked to play with the words in the 1900s, right? It was like a language game, right? And so okay was actually a joke that they wrote in the papers or in the literature at that time. So, what does okay really mean, everybody? Do you guys know? Okay is not 0 kills. No. It means this. It means that. All correct. But look how it's spelled. OLLKORRECT. That's what's funny. That's why it's a joke. Because it's saying, oh, it's okay. It's all correct. Yeah, that's the joke about okay. Okay is spelled OLLKORRECT. All correct. It's a joke. Yeah, it's a joke. It's spelled wrong on purpose. Yeah, they did a bunch of those back then. They used to do this also. They used to say KG, and it meant no-go. That's a no-go, means we're not doing it. But it was KG, the letters like to no instead of not no, negative. Right? And they also used to say, they said this. Nuff said, which meant enough said. That's enough said. Okay, so they used to play with the words a lot. So okay was just a joke. Okay was just a joke. All correct. When did migrations to America and Australia happen? Well, migrations to America, 1492 is when Columbus sailed the ocean blue. And so 1776 is when America was founded. And between 1492 and 1776 is when many people began migrating to America. And of course, they continued through the 19th century and into the 20th century. Australia is a little bit different. Australia began as a British prison colony. I want to say around the mid-1800s, but I want to check. I can't remember. 1901. Okay, so I was a little bit early. Right. So British colonization began in 1788, and then, so roughly around the same period, right? Roughly a little bit later than America, but roughly around the same period. Why hasn't such a long history been unified? Why would it be unified? History does not usually unify, right? So, for example, Chinese is now one language called Simplified Chinese. But why did you do that? Why did China do that? Because China had so many languages across the entire country, and it was difficult to control and to govern. It was difficult to govern a country without one language, right? So they made one language to make it easier for everyone for governing, right? But throughout history, that has never really ever happened other than China. Nobody has ever been able to effectively do that anywhere else. So all languages are a product of growth. And Chinese is still growing. They just simplified it. They just said, well, let's just make a simple version that's easier for everyone, right? But it's still growing. It's still a new language, or it's not new, it's still changing, right? It's always changing. Okay, I'm trying to catch up with the comments. Please be patient. Yeah, Chinese people use okay. Everybody uses okay. Okay is worldwide. If I go to any country in the world, I can probably say okay or not okay. Like, and they'll be like, oh, I understand you, right? It doesn't matter where I go. If I say the words okay, they might understand me. That's how simple that language is. Yeah, right? You're welcome, Bo. There are more people of German origin in America. Well, there are many, but not... let me check something. So, 12 or 13% of Americans have German heritage. It's one of the largest background heritage, but English is the number one, German is second, Irish is third, Mexican is fourth, Italian is fifth, Polish is sixth, and Scottish is seventh. So if you're looking for the percentages of heritage, heritage means where did my family come from, right? So my mother's family is Irish and English. So that's many people in America are Irish or English. Okay? America was a new land that they found that was better than the UK. So, Rena, the UK did not find America. The UK was, I'm sorry, America was found by Columbus, who was an Italian explorer that was paid for by the Spanish. So the Spanish sent him, but he was actually an Italian guy, right? So then he came to the New World, right? And they were looking for, Rena, what they wanted was money. They were looking for money, right? So Rena, back then, the biggest trade was trade with the East, trade with India and China. But the only way to go there was across the land. And it was very difficult to go from Europe all the way over to China by land. That was very difficult, very dangerous, and very expensive. So some people, they thought, hey, maybe there's a different way. Maybe instead of going by land this way, we can go by water and go around the other direction. So they were trying to go to India. They were not trying to find America. They didn't know about America. They didn't know that it was there. When they found America, they landed and they thought it was India. And that's why they called the people here Indians. They thought they were in India. but they were wrong. They found a new place. Okay? You want to know the origin of the slang word sketchy and riffraff. So, sketchy, that's probably from my generation. Ooh, wow, that's older than I thought. It says from 1805. But I don't think so. So the word sketchy is like a sketch. A sketch is a quick drawing. It's a quick drawing that's not very accurate. So if someone is sketchy, it means I don't see a clear picture of them, so I'm not sure if I can trust them. Okay, if you see a clear picture, you can trust it. But if you can't see a clear picture, then you can't trust it. So if something is sketchy, it means I can't really see if this is a clear picture or not, so I don't know if I should trust it. Okay? Riffraff, that means poor, or it means bad quality. Riffraff comes from... Oh, interesting. This one comes from Anglo-French, riff et raff, meaning one and all. So the word riffraff actually comes from early Anglo-French. It was a phrase that meant one and all, or everyone, right? So the word riffraff began as a word meaning everyone, but then it became a word meaning more like the poor people. The poor people. Okay? How can you have discipline and consistency in learning? Zainab says. Okay, I'm going to tell you how. If you want to do something well, then you must care about it. If you don't care about it, you won't do it well. So you have to figure out ways to care. How can I care about this thing? So, for example, one way is I am an English teacher. I'm an English teacher. That's a very long tradition. How many years have we had people teaching English? Many, many years. And now I am a part of this long, grand tradition. If you make yourself part of a big thing, you'll take it more seriously. If you're just doing something for fun, then it doesn't matter. But if you make it matter, then you'll take it more seriously. So when I teach, I care. Why do I care? Because my teacher cared. And his teacher cared, and his teacher before him cared, and before him cared, and before him cared. This is a long tradition that I am a part of. So, I care. So if you want to care about something, then you have to find reasons to care, right? I tell people that anyone can climb a mountain. Anyone can climb a mountain. But everyone will climb that mountain better if you have a good reason. If you have a good reason, you will climb that mountain better, right? So if you just say, oh, I want to climb that mountain just because, all right, fine. No reason. But what if your mom is on the top of that mountain and she has a broken leg? Your mom is on the top of that mountain with a broken leg. Now you have a good reason to climb that mountain. So if you don't care about what you're doing, you should ask yourself why. Why don't you care? Should you care? If I do this, what will happen? What are the reasons? What's my motivation for doing this? Can I get a better job? Will it make me a better person? Can I read more? Can I learn more? Can I grow more? Those are all good reasons. but you can come up with more. The more reasons you come up with, the better. All right? So anyone can climb a mountain. But if you have a reason, it's a lot easier. So if you want to be disciplined, and if you want to be consistent, then find ways to make what you do matter. If what you do doesn't matter, then you won't care. But if what you do does matter, then you will care. All right? All right, next question. Europeans migrated to America due to poverty and the Irish famine. Well, that's one of many reasons why Europeans left, right? A lot of it was poverty. A lot of it was famine, right? Work, right? New opportunities. America was new. There were no... It was all new. So that means, look, this place is old. So everybody's already done everything. Right? They already know who to... If you need a doctor, you go to this guy. If you need a lawyer, you go to this guy. If you need a farmer, you go to this guy. Every job was already taken in England. But if you go to America, oh, look, there's all these new jobs and new things and new opportunities. So the reason people went to America in the beginning was very simple. The old land didn't have many opportunities, and the new land did. It's very basic. Okay? You said that learning languages is an endless journey, but is that the reason enough to let the desperation hit hard at some point? I don't know why. Waleed, does the flower complain because it grows? Does a tree complain because it grows? No, it just grows. So just because it's a hard thing doesn't mean you should complain about it. It's part of growth. If you want to grow, then you learn. Learning is growing. Okay? The flower does not ask why it grows. It just does. All right? So be like the flower, man. Don't ask why you grow. Just grow. Just grow. All right? Can I talk about pressure in academic and society today? Okay, Jocko. Pressure. Well, those are two different things. Pressure in academics and pressure in society. Social pressure is about people wanting you to be what they want you to be. Academic pressure is mostly about just trying to keep a standard, right? Academics are only academics if you have a standard. If there is no standard, then it's not academic. And of course, the higher the standard is, the harder it must be, right? So academic pressure is a necessity. You need to have pressure in academics. In society, pressure is something that you choose. You choose to be pressured. You don't have to. Just because everyone bought the Taylor Swift record does not mean you have to buy the Taylor Swift record. That's pressure. That's social pressure. If you choose to buy that record, that was your choice. You chose to do what everyone else did. That's a social pressure. So social pressure is a choice. Academic pressure is necessary. It's just part of learning. You have to have a standard. Which approach is more effective for language proficiency, structured studying or active integration into daily life? Let me teach you a very important lesson. Most things in life are not binary. Most things in life are not binary. What does that mean? What does that mean? Most things in life are not binary. Binary means two, right? So, what that means is when you ask me a question, like your question, which approach is more effective for language proficiency? Structured studying or active integration into daily life? You gave me a binary choice, but there's no binary answer. Learning is not a binary thing like that, right? So if you want me to answer that question, the best approach for effective language proficiency is both structured studying and active integration into daily life. You can't make me choose when the answer is A and B. Okay? So what that means is in life, many times people will ask you, is it A or is it B? And you should consider maybe it's C. Because many things, most things in life are not a choice of A or B. Always look for C. Always look for C. All right? Yeah, the Khalil Gibran poem, that's a difficult poem, Waleed. That's very advanced language. Yeah. Yeah, or Z, that's right. Always look for not just A and B, but C, D, E, F, right? That's right. Yeah. So Americans are from all over the world. Yes, Andy, absolutely. Yeah, America is globalism. If you want to see what globalism looks like, come here. Because every single country, there are people here, living here, as Americans. Every country in the world. It doesn't matter where you're from. If you're from Tuvalu or Monaco, there's somebody from Tuvalu living here. There's somebody from Monaco living here. Every single country. Yeah, we have people here. Absolutely. And they're all mixed up. They're all mixed up now. It's fun. It's great. We love to share all these cultures. There are always other paths in life. That's right. Yeah. How to reach that language. Waleed, you're doing it. You just have to keep reaching, man. Keep reaching. Okay? Keep reaching. Keep the desire to learn, and you'll get there. Okay? You want to know the origin of the word keen. Okay, let's take a look. Keen comes from the Old English C-E-N-E. I don't know how to pronounce that in Old English. Kene, maybe. The original meaning of the word keen meant bold or brave or fearless. And then later it became clever or prudent or wise or intelligent. So the original meaning was both brave and skilled or clever. And now the word keen means eager. I'm keen to do this means I'm eager to do this. Ooh, I don't think we can add a comparative form to keen. I don't know. That's a good question. Can you? So it does say, yeah, both keener and more keen are both grammatically correct, but keener is much more common. That's interesting because I've never actually really heard keener before. Oh, okay, yeah, no, I have. She has a keener sense of smell than I do. Yeah, yeah, you can use either one, keener or more keen. Is the word keen common? It's more common in England. I think the British like to use the word keen more than Americans do. But we do use it, right? Some people more than others, right? Like my mother might say that every once in a while. I'm not keen on going to this movie. Means I'm not really interested. I'm not very eager to go to this movie. Okay? Do I know the stories about the Native Americans? What's their current situation? Well, I don't know all of the stories because there are many, many different groups of Native Americans, Frank. But I know many of them, sure. I know some of it. What's their current situation? That's a little bit harder to explain. There are not many Native Americans left from those original tribes. There are a few million left. Just yesterday or a few days ago, somebody was asking about this. Many native. 3 million to 10 million, somewhere in there. We're not sure exactly how many, but somewhere between about 3 or 4 million to 10 million that are left in America, right? And the total population of America is something like 330 million. So it's not a big number anymore. It's not a big number. Yeah, there you go. You asked. That's right. So their current situation is that there are not many of them left. Less than 10 million. To be keen means to be interested or eager to do something. I'm very keen to see that new movie. You found 10 million to be not logical. Well, Waleed, logic doesn't care what you think. That's why it's logic, man. Logic is about rational thoughts and rational facts, right? They don't have to feel good. They just are true. So whether you feel it's true or not doesn't matter. Do I go hiking a lot? Not a lot, but I do go hiking. I should go more. I wish I went more, but yeah, I like hiking. Hello, Andy. I am a keener. No, you can't say a keener. No. You can say I am keen to do something. You can say I am keen about something. You could say he's not very keen or she's not very keen. Okay? What's the most famous American culture? Ricky, that's a very hard thing to answer because American culture is a mix of so many cultures, right? So that's what makes our culture interesting is that we are a mix of many cultures. But if you want to ask me about something that's uniquely American, the most famous American culture, I think I would say jazz. Jazz music. It was created in America. And it's now all over the world. So maybe jazz, you know, rock music also came from jazz, right? So American music might be one of our strongest cultures or our most interesting culture, but movies too, right? We make movies. That's culture. You know? Okay, let's see. When you say numbers like 150, you have to add and. You can say 150 or 150. But we usually say the 100, we make it more clear to make sure nobody misunderstands. Right? If I say 150, that could be $1.50. But if I'm at a store and you say, how much is this? I could say 150, and you might think, oh, wow, $1.50? That's so cheap, $1.50? But that's why we would say 150, because now it's much more clear. Okay? Can anyone go to a casino in America? If you are over 18, if you are over the age of 18, then yes. Is Wild West specific American culture? So if you mean the Western culture, like cowboys and all that stuff, how do I explain this? That was a period of American history. That was a period of American history, the Wild West, okay? I would say that was around the 1800s through the 1850s into the early 1900s, okay? That was the Wild West period. And that period was very crazy and it was very wild because everywhere in the western part of the United States was completely new. So there were no police. There was no government. There was no sheriff. There were no laws. They didn't even have states. They didn't have cities. So if you went there, you could make a city. You could start a new city. That was brand new. There's a TV show that I really, really love. There's a show called Deadwood. There's a TV show called Deadwood. It's a very difficult show to watch. If you don't understand English well, then this show will be very difficult to watch because the language is very unique. The language in this show is very different and unique. But it's about a town in South Dakota. I think it was South Dakota. Deadwood, South Dakota is a place. And this was a new city. It was a new place that had just started. So people were coming there and they were looking for gold and they were trying to start a new business and make a new restaurant and a new hotel and all these things. It was this, brand new place. That was called the Frontier. The Frontier means new. It's a new place, right? So the Wild West at that time was crazy and wild. And yeah, if you want to see that show, you'll see that people got killed all the time and there were gun shootouts and there was, lots of crime. lots of different kinds of terrible crime. It was a very dangerous, dangerous place to live for everyone. Okay? But that's over. That's over. There is no such thing as the Wild West in America anymore. And there are no more cowboys. I don't care who you are. You're not a cowboy the way you were in the 1850s now. Okay? There are people who dress like that, but it's not the same. It's not the same time period. Now we have laws. Now we have rules. Okay, so the Wild West was a time period before we had laws, before we had rules. Okay? Do I barbecue a lot? I wouldn't say a lot, but during the spring and the summer, when the weather is nice, we barbecue a few times a month at least a few times a month. In the summertime, sometimes we might barbecue a few times a week. Okay? Hello, Nora. Waleed likes the show Yellowstone. Yeah, see, I don't like that one, Waleed. I'm not a big fan of that show. And that's not the Wild West. That's still later. That's just rich people. That's why I don't like the show Yellowstone. Because Yellowstone, that show doesn't show any normal people. And that's part of the problem. It's very hard for me to explain. But, yeah, anyway, check out Deadwood. You'll probably like Deadwood more. But the language is really hard to understand. That's why I love it. I love that show because of the language. Okay, South Korea's favorite country has always been the United States. Come South Korea. So, yes, Nina, I would love to go to South Korea sometime. I have many friends who have lived there or taught there or do live there now. I think it's David Milch. I can't remember who did it. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. But the sheriff always exists. No, that's not true. That's not true. The sheriff did not always exist. Someone had to become the sheriff. So I want you to imagine you have a new town. You have a new town, and you have a hotel, and you have a blacksmith, and you have some businesses that are selling equipment and things like that, right? But there is no sheriff in a new town. There is no law. There is no government. There is no mayor. There's nothing yet. So in this show, they have a scene where they choose the sheriff, and the sheriff says, I don't know if I want to do this job. I don't think I want to do it. Right? Somebody had to agree to be the sheriff. I'm going to try to make everybody be nice. That's a hard job. That's a hard job. Yeah. Thank you, Nora. Have gun rights come from the Wild West? No, gun rights came from the American Revolution. Sergey, the only reason America was able to fight back against the British is because we had guns. And why did Americans have guns? Because America was a new country and it was not safe. There were many wild animals like bears and wolves, and there were bad people who didn't care about the laws, and they would steal from you or, kill you, right? So you needed a gun to protect yourself in this new wild land, right? And then when the British, basically, they were controlling us, but they were not letting us have a vote. So they were taxing us. They were saying, hey, you have to pay this tax, and you have to pay this tax and this tax. But when we vote about taxes, you don't get to vote. You just get to pay. So we said, no. If we don't get to vote, we're not paying. So we had a big fight with the British about the ability to have a say, have a vote, right? And because we had guns, we were able to fight back. And then when we created our country, we said, well, you know what? We should probably make that very important. We should make that the Second Amendment that says that you have the right to bear arms, to have a gun. Why? Because maybe in the future there will be another government that wants to do bad things to us. And if we don't have guns, then we can't do anything about it. So that's why we have guns. Okay, it's because of our history. Okay, now, our history has become very complicated now. So now it's a very different thing. So the original reasons why we had guns were good. The reasons why we have them now are not. Okay? You just looked into it. It won 8 Emmys. Well, I didn't know that. 8 Emmys. Do I have a cowboy hat? No, I do not. Let's see. Do I think the current impact of these podcasters has had any significant impact like Dan Cole or Chris Williamson? Frank, I don't even know who Dan Cole or Chris Williamson are. So I would say no. I don't know who they are. They're just a podcaster. I'm a podcaster too. Everybody has a microphone and a camera. Doesn't mean anything. Frank, let me put it to you this way. I don't care about the person. I care about the words. So when you're here, don't follow me. I don't want you to follow me. No, no, no. I'm not here for you to follow me. Follow the things I say if they work for you. If you like the things I say, then follow the words. Don't follow me. Okay? So, did Dan Cole have an impact? No, because I don't even know who he is. Did Chris Williamson have an impact? No, because I don't even know who he is. But maybe their words might have an impact. Okay? Did I like Westworld? I did not like Westworld, Sisu. I actually hated that show. I thought that show was trying way too hard to be... It was trying too hard. Westworld was just trying way too hard. Sometimes you can make something that's so complicated that you forget the purpose. That's what happened to Westworld. Westworld became about being complicated. It didn't become about a story. They forgot about the story completely. It's like M. Night Shyamalan. I don't like most M. Night Shyamalan movies because all he does is say, okay, I'm going to make a movie, and most movies end like this, so I'm going to do the complete opposite. If that's all you're doing, then I don't need to see your movie, because your movie really doesn't have any value. That's called being a contrarian. You're just doing something that's the opposite of what everybody else does, just to be different. So Westworld was too convoluted for me. Is policeman the same as sheriff? A sheriff is a local policeman. A sheriff is the local policeman. Okay? Thank you very much, Samira. Yes, Ricky, I'm a drummer. Can I say the first militia in the world was the American militias? Waleed, no. No, militias, that goes back way earlier than America. No, militias go back far, much, much further. I'm not sure. Do I have a gun? No, I do not. No, I don't have a gun. I've never owned a gun. Nobody in my family has a gun. I have a few friends who have guns, but most of them don't. Not everyone in America has a gun. Okay? Okay. You're scared. Why are you scared? You want to know the meaning of the flag, the yellow flag, don't tread on me. Waleed, that's a flag. It's an old flag. It means that the government is not supposed to tell you what to do. That's what it means. But it's a stupid flag. It's a really, really stupid flag. The idea is a good, basic idea. But there are always times when that's not going to work out, right? Like during COVID. During COVID, we had an emergency, right? And therefore, during an emergency, sometimes you have to tell people what to do, and you cannot give them a choice. I know that's hard. That's very hard. But it's necessary sometimes, right? So, in this case, the government had to tell people, you have to get the shot. You have to get the vaccine. And if you don't, then you can't come to work. If you don't, then you do this, right? That's treading on. To tread on means to walk on. Okay, so don't tread on me means don't walk on me. Okay, but Waleed, I don't know anybody who's smart who has that flag. So you do the math. You figure it out. Anybody I know who has that flag, not a very smart person. Okay? All right, let's see. But it's legal. Yeah, it's legal. Sure, it's legal. But I don't want one. Okay? I want you to understand that you have seen the movies. You have seen TV. TV and the movies are not real. So not every American has a gun. All right? What's the difference between go back and come back? Well, if I tell you, go back home, you came to me, but now I'm telling you, no, you shouldn't be here. Go back home. So I'm telling you to go back. Come back means, hey, you went away. No, come back here. Come back. Right? So go back is I'm telling you, you go back. Come back is I'm saying, hey, you come back, right? So one is go and one is come. Okay? What caused the cowboy era to come to an end? Laws. Laws. That's what caused the cowboy era to come to an end. What did I do to socialize in my youth? Ooh, wow. I don't know how to answer that. I was in the Boy Scouts when I was a boy. I did that. I was in the school band. I learned how to play a musical instrument. That socialized me a lot. I learned how to be a performer. I was performing music by the time I was 18. So I was in performance situations, public situations, performing music for people. And when you perform for people, they want to socialize with you. So if you have trouble meeting people, get a talent. Get a talent. Find a talent. If you have a talent, people want to meet you. You don't have to meet people. They come to you. Okay? Do I know what people who own guns actually do with them? Do they just keep them locked away or until they need them or what? So, God, you guys are really fascinated by guns. Okay. Everybody's different. Everybody's different, okay? For some people, a gun is something that they have in their house, but it's locked away, and they only use it for protection, which means they never see it. It doesn't come out unless somebody breaks into their house, and then they get it, right? But for other people, there are some people who guns are like their hobby. It's their hobby, so they might shoot guns every day for fun. They go to the gun range where you can practice shooting guns. We have a bunch of them around here, not far. If I want to go practice shooting guns, I can go to the gun range and I can practice shooting guns. Okay? So everybody's different. People have guns for different reasons. Everybody has one for protection. If you have one reason is protection, right? But again, please remember, not every American has a gun. That's not true at all. Let me, here, wait. So you tell me what percentage of Americans that you think have guns. What percentage? Salim says 80. Susu says 10. Anyone else? Waleed says 100. Sergey says 50. So it's about 30%. It's about 30%. Okay? Maybe 35%, maybe 40% in some places. But it's about 30%. And yeah, that is a lot. That is a lot. But it's not most people. It's not most people. Okay? It's 3 out of 10. Okay? Yeah, probably about, if you're looking at the country, 330 million people, roughly a third of them, I would say probably somewhere in that neighborhood. 32%, 30%, 31%. There's another report here that says only 23%. So somewhere between, let's call it 25 or 35%. That's the most. Okay. Now, I'm done talking about guns now. I'm done. I don't like guns. I don't want a gun. Okay? I'm done with the guns. All right? I know you're curious, but most of what you think is not true. Most Americans do not have a gun. Okay? 30%. Okay? Let me check something. How many, what percent of Americans do you think play basketball? What percent of Americans do you think play basketball? Sergey says 90%. So it's about 9 or 10%. 9 or 10%. So, Waleed, this is a perfect example of what I'm saying. What you think you know is not what you should know. You have to find out what's true. Okay? Yeah, you thought we're all soldiers. No, we're not. Okay? We're not. Okay? Especially Chicago. Chicago, see, I know where you've been listening. Again, you've been listening to the wrong people who are saying lies. You're saying all the things that are lies. But I'm done with the guns. I don't want to talk about guns anymore, guys. And hello, Shenjul. Hello. Over there in my YouTube. What percentage of football? If you mean soccer, it's not many. But I don't know. Look it up. Look it up. I'm not sure. Okay. Now, I have been here for 2 hours and 22 minutes. I've been here for 2 hours and 22 minutes. Okay? If you are new, I'm not new. I have been here for 12 years, more than 12 years. 90,000 people follow me to learn English here. Okay? Yes, get the file. So if you want to know about me, then you need this. Everything that you need to know about me is in this file right here. That's a PDF file. Copy it, copy that link, and paste it to your browser and open it. Read it. Okay, you'll find out my schedule. You'll find out my YouTube, my website, my blog. Everything that you need to know about me is in that file. Okay? If you were us and you found yourself as a teacher, but it's not you, you're a student, how would you chase this opportunity? Anytime I find a great teacher, I feel that it's an opportunity to see how great of a student I can be. So if I find a great teacher, finding a great teacher makes me want to be a great student. Because I don't want to disappoint the great teacher. So if you find someone that you think is a good teacher, then that should inspire you to want to be better as a student. Okay? That's what I would say. Did I update the file? No. I don't think I need to update the file. It's close enough, man. It's close enough. Nobody cares if I did 1401 or 1410, live streams. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Yes, Salim, I'm usually here for 2 or 3 hours. Yeah. Okay? I'm usually here for 2 or 3 hours. But I'm hungry, everybody. I'm really hungry. I have not had anything to eat yet today. I've only had some coffee, and my coffee is gone. So I'm going to go and go get some lunch. What will I cook? I don't know. I don't know what I have to eat. I'm not sure. I might have to go out and get something because I'm not sure what I have that's quick to eat right now. So, Salim, you know what, Salim? You are right. I said that I was going to bring somebody up today, and I didn't. I forgot about that. I completely forgot about that. So I will do that tomorrow. Okay? Thursday, I'm going to start my live streams a little bit earlier. Okay? So on Thursday, I'm probably going to start more like 8:30 or 9 tomorrow. All right? And I will bring some people up tomorrow, okay? Somebody remind me. Just don't let me forget. Don't let me forget tomorrow that I said I'm going to bring some people up to talk. But there are 76 people here right now, okay? So if you want to come on my stage, you need to remember that there are almost 100 people watching. So that means you have to have something to ask me. You have to have something to talk about. All right? If you just raise your hand and come on my stage and just say, hey, can we talk? No, we cannot. No. If you want to come on my stage, bring your questions. Bring your curiosity. Bring a topic. Bring a topic. Okay? Someone may have cold feet, Susu says. I can be a little bit scary. I know I can be a little bit scary. I can be a little bit intimidating. But this is not bad intimidation. Sometimes intimidation is bad. Sometimes intimidation is what you need so that you understand that you need to be more serious. So, if you don't want to be serious, that's easy. Anybody can do that. There are lots of people on Hello Talk that you can go watch, and they are not serious. But if you come here, I'm a serious guy. I'm a serious guy. So if you come to my room, be ready to be serious. All right? Okay, that's it for me. Have a good morning. Have a good afternoon. Have a good evening, wherever you are in this world. And please come back and see me again. And you know what I'm going to tell you? I'll tell you this. I want you to challenge me. I want you to challenge me. So what I mean is, ask me something that makes me have to think. Ask me something that makes me have to give you a good answer. Please don't ask me, how can I learn English? Please don't ask me, how can I be good at English? Please don't ask me, how can I be fluent? Think of a good question. Think of a good question. All right? You come and bring your questions to me. I'll do the rest. I'll do the rest. Okay? All right. Okay, guys. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.